Yeah, right then, guys. Hello and welcome back. Food shortages in the UK. Wow, that sounds a bit scary, doesn't it, on the surface? Well, my reaction to that is, well, maybe that's a good thing, because there are so many obese people in this country. Diabetes and obesity is an epidemic. Perhaps they can do without for a little while. Perhaps supermarkets could prioritise putting good food into the shops rather than selling shit all the time. But you know what will happen when people get a sugar craving? They'll go absolutely berserk, won't they? Yes, they will. So they'll keep selling shit because people know no different. They don't know how to eat properly. Yeah. And they don't know how to do without. I think prepping generally is storing and preparing for future events, but it's also understanding and learning to do without when you need to. Yeah, not just food, but you know, those little luxuries like a can of Coke every now and then, the shit that's not really good for you anyway. Yeah, that's an easy thing to knock on the head. All those addictions you have, perhaps a sort of time to review what you're doing, and then maybe just saying goodbye to them. Yeah. So anyway, let's talk about this. Let's talk about this particular issue, which is a shortage of Hgv drivers. Well, yeah, the UK has always had a shortage of Hgv drivers. There was at one time, if you were unemployed, you could go into the job centre and they would give you a driving licence, or they'd give you funding so you could go and get lessons to drive an Hgv if you were hard up. I don't know if that scheme still exists, but it should actually do now. It should have been put in place a long time ago, because this Brexit thing is not a new thing. It was brought into place. We had our referendum, and then they knew that at some point we were going to come out of Europe and the borders would be shut. Therefore, we would have to get workers from elsewhere, wouldn't we? But what has been done about it? Absolutely nothing at all. Now, and that's reading this article that I've got here, they are crying about it, and UK food distributors are now calling for the army to be put on standby, because the shit is going to hit the fan with the industry, because they're not getting their deliveries. You've seen it in the shops. You know, you've seen certain things, like you might go to your Tesco's, your Aldi's, your Morrison's, or your Lidl's, and there will be stuff missing. Yeah, and that is just going to be a fact of life for a little while. Personally, I don't think that it is any massive underhanded plan to get us to stop eating meat, although there is stuff in the pipeline to discourage us from eating meat. I don't think that is what is on the table at the moment. What it is the good old British thing of coming to a crisis, realising that they haven't put something in place, and then starting to panic like they always do. I see this everywhere. I even see it in my workplace from time to time when the shit hits the fan, because there is too much work to do, not enough bodies to get the work done, and not enough hours in the day. But we always bumble through and get done, even though a few lies and excuses have to be made to customers, and things are delayed slightly before we can get everything done. But it gets done, finished, and then we get the next crisis. Yeah, we're always waiting for a crisis. Disorganisation, and I think disorganisation and apathy is very much the British way. Now, if you look at preppers in the USA, the ones on YouTube, they will push, because they want you to get prepped. Their situation in the USA is slightly different from us. And I agree with what they say, especially it's regional, basically, whether you have fires or droughts or flooding or massive civil unrest. It's all very much regional to them. Hurricanes as well as tornadoes, whatever you like, they get shit like that. So it's no surprise that those guys actually do panic a little bit, and there are experts on there urging you to get your shit together. Whereas in the UK, it's a little bit different, isn't it? A lot of preppers are looked on as a little bit wacky. The guys that run out into the woods with paramilitary gear on, and they've got the hunting knives, and they will go and run away into the woods if something kicks off. Yeah, not my cup of tea, to be honest with you. Although I do wear paramilitary gear from time to time. Yeah, no, it's not my thing. Although I don't condone anybody from doing it. It's a possibility that shit like that might happen, and that might be a necessary step. So yes, guys, if you're doing it, I'm not knocking you for it. It's a necessity maybe for you. I have a different view of it. Shit hits the fan all the time, yeah, on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, and you have to deal with it as it gets presented to you. So this is the new one. Food shortages in the UK, which are going to spread over the summer. Yeah. Now, with regards to driver shortages, I read this has a statement from Paul Day, who's Turner's of Soham's MD, managing director. He's the owner of it, isn't he? Yeah, saying that basically it's shit does hit the fan, but we try to do the best we can. Unfortunately, they need to change. The government needs to step in and do some things to get things moving a little bit better. Whereas the distribution, UK Food Distribution Agency, they are calling for the army to step in, or to be at least put on standby so a crisis is diverted. Now these are two guys from different areas of the same industry saying that something has to be done, which, yeah, okay, well, that's down to the government to do that. In the meantime, while this is going off, if you haven't got preps ready and you're not sorted, then you really should do. I don't advise panic buying, because that will alert other people to things that they probably haven't noticed, the gaps in the shelves. But if you're not stocked up, then perhaps it's about time that you actually chuck some extra cash into the larder and put some more stuff in there. This is something that is not going to be a long-term thing. I work for a company that sells a considerable amount of lorries every year, and they're on the up and up after coronavirus. Obviously, trucks weren't being made at the time. They're now being made and imported, and even a new model's just come out of the DAF truck, and they're selling trucks. They are selling trucks. Now all they need to do is just wait a little time so they get more bums on seats so they can turn those steering wheels. I know the industry is not very well paid, and it is actually quite hard. Time deliveries for some guys, they have time delivery slots that they've got to get to so they can get their load off the truck and then on to the next place. Yeah, it's quite a hard industry, plus you have traffic jams and roadworks and everything else. Not something I would do, and I do respect the guys who do sit behind the wheel all day, because it's hard to sit down all day long every day, isn't it? Yeah. And they don't get much respect, do they? Which they should do. They are essential workers at the end of the day, aren't they? But, yeah, shit hits the fan every single day, doesn't it? It isn't an event that's coming in on the horizon, although some guys seem to think so. It is already here, and it's happening all the time. Yeah, so you have to be reactive to it, you have to be adaptive, and you have to be ready for stuff and keep your ear to the ground and listen to what people have got to say. Not the conspiracy theory type of magician behind the curtain who's pulling all those levers, although there is an element to that which is actually true. Which is the United Nations Agenda 21. They are changing things right the way across the board, but there are not engineered food shortages. There are plans to change our diets over a period of time, which we will talk about in later videos, because you have to be aware of what nutrition you're going to put in your body. Yeah, but as for Ice Age Farmer, I was watching, he seems to have a narrative that spans that. And he's using the news from the UK to say, well, yeah, okay, look what's happening in the UK. They're having to dispose of food because they can't get it delivered to the shops because there's a supposed driver shortage. Well, yes, there is a driver shortage. There always has been a driver shortage. Always has been, yeah. But it's down to the haulage companies to get their shit into gear and be more prepared, yeah, which they never are they? On this, I know this for a fact. I've worked in fleet for quite a few years, and from the point of view of the transport office, they really don't know sometimes where some things are. It's better now because they have trackers on vehicles and they know exactly what the drivers are doing, but sometimes they just lose trailers, yeah, 4 months on end, and then they'll turn up and they've been parked up in some place. Although they are putting trackers on trailers as well now, but all it takes is some guy to accidentally cut a wire and then that trailer's missing, isn't it? Yeah, it happens. Believe me, it happens, yeah. We get phone calls from companies saying, have you got such and such a trailer? Have you got such and such a truck? We can't find it. No, we haven't got it in our yard, but we'll go and have a look and then see. And then they never ring back, and the truck turns in for service maybe 3 weeks later, you know. Disorganisation. But that is always the way it has been, and it will never change. It will never change. Humans are humans. They make mistakes, yeah. And all we do is learn by our mistakes, don't we? But in the meantime, guys, I'm interested to know what type of issues that you're seeing in your shops. What are they short of in your shops? Because I've noticed something, and I'll say about this. Lidl's and Aldi's, they generally employ foreign drivers, and they're having shortages. The Co-op, on the other hand, have their own drivers. They have their own fleet, from what I understand, and they don't seem to have many shortages. There's things like tobacco is always in the shops. Vape stuff that comes from China is in the shop, so there's no shortage of imports, is there? Yeah. Chocolate stuffs and bread is there every day. That's locally produced anyway. But if you were worried about it, what would you do? Would you start, or have you started cultivating your own food? If not, you should be. Yeah, or at least knowing people who do cultivate your own stuff, and then prepping, putting stuff by just in case. It's a human thing. It's a normal human thing to put things away. Hoarding, if you like, although it sounds to be shameful, it's not. Prepping is a better word for it. I do have preps, and I'm not going to show you, and I have increased my preps. I went out and spent another £200 on essential items, and one of those was £50 worth of washing powder, because I always seem to run out of that for some reason. Yeah, just tied over. But personally, I don't know how you feel about it. You can let me know in the comments below what's happening. Yeah, with you, whether you mistrust the system and things are going to get worse incrementally until the point where everything collapses, or maybe this is just a flash in the pan. Yeah, let me know. Anyway, until the next video, I shall see you later. All right, guys, bye.